If as we're told, content really is king, then it must be the rights managers who are the kingmakers. They're at the sharp end of the business. Their management or mismanagement of the rights can make or break a business or indeed an entire industry. So does the proliferation of devices and platforms and the ubiquity of digital content mean that the digital age is now going to come to fruition? Or to misquote Winston Churchill, will we still be in a position where so much is owed by so many to so few? We have various members of the industry with us, from content owners to distribution platforms and to a rights protector. So if they can introduce themselves, we can kick off. Julie.
Hello, my name is Julie Lee. I head up business development and business affairs for a company named Vevo. We offer premium music experience across a very wide-ranging platform, offering distribution across 12 partnerships in the US and Canada. We recently launched in the UK. We have about 60 million unique users streaming a little over 500 million streams on a monthly basis in the US, making us the leading music partner and platform in the US. We launched recently in the UK last month and also doing very well in that platform as well.
Hi, I'm Vince Bannon. I work with a wonderful company called Getty Images. We are the largest licensor of images, both editorial and creative. Also, we are the largest licensor of film in the world. And in my role, I play a biz dev role. I've been involved with acquisitions, and so I have acquired a company called Pump Audio a few years ago, so now we license music as well. We're made up of 136 acquisitions. Probably a lot of people know us by our other brand names, like companies like iStock Photo, Wire Image, Film Magic. And I will say that business is booming.
Christine.
I'm Christine Cameron. I head up the legal team for International, for Turner Broadcasting. For us, International is everything outside of North America. Our company is an acquirer, a producer of content, and also a distributor of content. Our channels include CNN, Cartoon Network, Boomerang. In the US, most people know TNT and TBS as our channels. We operate about 30 channels internationally, 140 feeds, and we run numerous websites, about 25 distinct websites, but a whole stack of versions of all of them. We distribute our content across all platforms and to all devices.
I'm Yangbing Wang from Vobo. We are a technology service provider in the area of digital fingerprinting. We have a core technology called Video DNA. Essentially, we fingerprint video, audio, images, and we work with rights holders, all across the world. We started, with the Hollywood record labels, Hollywood studios. So we work with all 6 major studios, TV networks in the U.S. and sports leagues. And recently, we are expanding business into Asia Pacific. We established office in Singapore, so we're local here now. We also have office in Japan and R&D and operation in China. So I look forward to have a good discussion here.
Thank you. Judith, I'm going to start with you. Preparing for the panel, I was sat in my office, I typed Vevo to search for it, and it popped up to say not available in my territory. And it's correct to say at the moment you're in the UK, US, Ireland, and Canada. What's the problem? Why aren't you in Asia?
So Vevo is a platform that's available through our own branded environment as well as through partnerships. Through a special partnership with YouTube, we're actually available across 238 countries on a worldwide basis that includes Hong Kong and most of Asia, with the exception of China. Having said that, in order to render the Vevo branded environment, we need to obtain rights. And the rights are actually categorized into the content creators themselves in terms of master recording rights from repertoire owners. And in order to launch in Asia, we feel that it's important to also, in addition to Anglo-American repertoire that we bring to the table, obtaining the applicable local repertoire rights. And we haven't done that yet. The other component, obviously, is publishing rights. And we need to obtain that in order to get that as well. So we're in the process of working on it. That's one of the reasons that I'm here in Singapore, so that we can evaluate the marketplace in Asia for a broader launch, and that's why.
And does that mean that YouTube has navigated those rights, or?
Yes.
Oh, they have. Okay. And what's different about Vivo? What's different about your service?
In terms of the branded environment? Okay. So Vivo, like I said, is a branded service that syndicates its environment, but in addition to that, we have our own portal that's available online. We have optimized mobile environments and also available on ITV environments. It's a simpler environment. We focus on not all the user-generated videos that YouTube has. We provide premium content to YouTube that includes our entire 45,000 video library. But on our branded service, it's a premium-only environment, which means that we have high-quality music videos provided by the produced labels as well as studios across the board. So that includes your traditional music that's provided by the record companies, as well as content that's created by the studios, as well as content creation partners like Control Room for the FIFA World Cup concert, as an example, or even the Grammy Awards. It's a cleaner environment as well, and the search browse environment is a little different as well. So one of the most popular features for us is a map feature that geo-targets and also identifies what people are looking at in certain environments, as well as a playlisting feature that allows you to program in both favorites for yourself, but also, like for instance, Vince, I would think of him as a tastemaker. I could also have sharing associated to that, and those are some of the customization features that doesn't necessarily exist elsewhere.
You came from the music industry with Universal.
Yes.
I mean, have you found the licensing and rights issues for videos to be easier than it is for music? I mean, has the industry learned its lessons?
I think the creation and the existence of my company, Vivo, having been founded under the Universal Music brand and having created a partnership with Sony Music thereafter and various other labels, in itself is an indication of the fact that the industry is evolving. It's recognizing that there has to be change, and we're the representation of that. Having said that, the music industry and the rights associated to it is nothing but complex. I think there's a lot of resource that goes into A, understanding how the rights work, B, figuring out who controls those rights, and then lastly, figuring out a manner in which you can come into a structure that allows you to permit within the rights that you can obtain. So that in itself is not easy. I think having companies like ourselves who can make that experience available on services so that they can focus on the service environment itself, it makes it a little easier because all the rights are provided by us. The environment is provided by us, and portals like AOL, as an example in the US, they can focus on being what they are, which is an entertainment portal that aggregates and provides a experience for consumers, but in terms of the music environment, that's provided by Vivo, so that makes it a little easier.
Okay. Hey Vince, you also came from a music background. I mean, have your skills translated to your new environment with Getty? I mean, are you finding similar rights issues there, or is it a simpler proposition for you?
You know, the big thing is that I made a real choice 11 years ago that I wanted to go into the digital space after seeing what went on with Napster and where it was going. And I came in through an acquisition of a company called ImageNet, which was a technology company that works with all the studios and is actually Getty has had a cloud management system called MMS, which is Media Manager System, which is part of the technology that my company was part of. The whole thing that Getty's done, and I really admire Mark Getty and Jonathan Klein. The business only started in '95, and the license images was as difficult as it was to license music, right? Because the photographer owned the copyright. There was copyright material in the actual photograph. There was model rights and all this. And what they did essentially was make it really easy. And they've done that with film, and we now have done it with music. And again, the other thing that they've done, which I really admire, is like with iStock Photo, it's user-generated content the licenses go as cheap as $1 to $100. It's dependent on use, right? And I've met so many people that go, I used to go to Creative Commons, I used to go to Google and hope I wouldn't be in trouble for using these images. But when your brand and these companies have come along, it's made it so easy to license material and to build out websites or to build out, brochures or whatever that they're going to do, right? It's all about having the rights and having it right in front of you and knowing what your uses are, what you can do with that content, and making it making it very easy for the consumer.
So,
to
but
use.
how did they go about making it easy? Was it just the ease of access or the price point? Or?
It's two things. It's how easy it is to use, right? The important thing is the filtering. It's how easy it
filtering
is
geographically,
the search.
or okay.
The search, is really important, and then price point. There is so much money being left on the table with a lot of rights holders right now, where so many people would love to license and use their content in all sort of different ways, right? And because of we've seen a lot of fantastic presentations here, and it's this whole thing that you don't know who your next customer is. So you would think like a company like Getty Images would be in trouble because decline of newspapers and magazines. It's all about new customer acquisition. It's all about new people that want to use content. It's all about that companies that I don't know will be here next year. And that is the greatest thing that I've learned in, say, my 7 years now at Getty Images.
I mean, I was interested to hear when we were talking earlier about the Flickr and iPhoto, the UGC content. I mean,
well, we actually are the only place you can actually license Flickr content from. We actually invite Flickr contributors to become Getty Images contributors, and then iStock Photo. When we acquired the company, it was about 5, almost 6 years ago, and a lot of people, it would be the equivalent of say. One of the majors, or the majors getting together and acquiring Napster, right? And the company was doing about $500,000 a month when we acquired it, and now it does every day well over $1 million a day. A piece of content a second is licensed right now, licensed from iStock Photo, and it's been a continuing growing business. It's really, really exciting.
and photographers earning as much as $1 million US a year.
There's photographers that are on iStock that actually make $1 million a year. And I'm just going to do a little sidebar here. We actually have a great photographer out in the lobby. And if you want a great picture, besides the escort that you picked up last night that's going to blackmail you, I would definitely suggest to go see Chris, because he's a world-class photographer. He's from Australia, and he'll take great photos of you. And all make sure you enter the Getty Images contest, because we're going to be giving away 2 iPads. And that's enough for a commercial break.
But just briefly, I mean, as well as images, you're also, did you say, the world's largest supplier of music and film footage?
No, not music. We're the largest licensor of film in the world. So my wife, well, she does love me sometimes. Depends on what time it is. But I make her stay to the end of the credits. And it was like I was telling Julie, this fantastic movie, Thor, I wait to the end and you'll see the bit where it goes, additional footage and images supplied by Getty Images. And when I was down at South by Southwest, I went to Robert Rodriguez's studio, and he does not leave Austin to shoot a movie. So if he needs a car to go off a cliff, he just goes on the Getty site and licenses it, and then treats the film and adds it. And music's been a recent addition, and I'm really, really proud to say this, that our music business year on year increased 30%. It's a great growing business for us, and again, it's making it really easy. It's all pre-priced and all pre-cleared, and that's the key.
But I mean, not all content is created equal. I mean, I've been onto your site, and it's seamless in some respects, but with some images, there is a refer to local office. I mean, is that an issue for you, or?
No, there's definitely like, you can't take a picture of a famous athlete and put a bottle of liquor in his hand and say, okay, this is fine to do that. It comes out of a non-editorial use. So there's clearly defined uses of what you can do with editorial and then what you can do with, creative or stock imagery. And it basically tells you what the uses are and what will indemnify you for what the use is. But there's things like you can't take a picture of the Hollywood sign, right, and use it. It's a copywritten sign, right? And you can't take that and use it in other ways that would be outside of the editorial use.
And enforcement, big issue for you, or not so?
You know what? The big thing that we want to do is create customers, and that's the real key. Is our whole thing is when we find a significant amount of unauthorized use, and I'll say this like different than we are than say the labels and the music companies. We are a B2B business, a business to business, and so we find a commercial site that's using our images and it's what we call unauthorized use. We simply send them a bill and we go after them in the sense of trying to make them a customer, and in the sense of that we look at growing our business in the sense of getting more people to just become legitimate and license the content.
Chris, when we were talking before, I came at you, I guess, from a perspective of slicing and dicing and collapsing of windows and how it was affecting your business. But it was interesting to me that your experience in the US is, I suppose, indicative of that, because you've got a service called TV Everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. We have in the past obviously seen so much slicing and dicing of content, whether it's across geography, whether it's across viewing time, whether it might be in terms of distribution technologies, or as Vince has been talking about, the different type of use that you can make of the content. But with the TV Everywhere initiative, which our parent company Time Warner in particular is pushing in the US, we're starting to see collapsing across those rights where instead of licensing just to a TV provider the TV rights and a broadband provider the broadband rights, we're licensing TV, broadband, mobile, etc., all within the one carrier. So the deal that we've just done for Turner in the US has been with Comcast. If you're a Comcast subscriber, then you can log on to the Comcast website, you can watch our programming online, you could watch it on a VOD basis, you'll eventually be able to watch all of the channels streamed live as well. So that's one of those examples where the windows are starting to collapse because of technology.
But, I mean, do they collapse, or do you just let Comcast then set their own rules? I mean, how involved do you then get as to what they do with your content?
It's a fairly long contract if anyone would like to read it. It's absolutely compelling stuff. We do have restrictions on what they can do, but for the most part it's fairly fluid and open. That requires a lot of communication after the deal is actually signed in terms of what they can and can't do. But for the most part our philosophy has become, we want our content out there. We want consumers to see it. We want our partners such as Comcast to be able to use it in a way that benefits all of us.
And is this a strategy that you're looking to roll out everywhere, or I mean, is it anywhere in Asia? Are we close to having that here, or?
In commercially sensitive negotiations, let's just say that, yes, we would like to roll it out as far and wide as we can. We would like it to be TV everywhere, not just TV everywhere in the United States. We're looking at a couple of deals in Latin America, we're looking at a couple of deals in Asia Pacific, and certainly in Europe. It does depend a lot on the actual development of the country involved, so the technology. And I'm sure that you can speak more wildly to this than I can, but in terms of both the underlying platform, but also whether there's protections in place that allows the content to be safe and authorized legitimately.
And Yang Ben, listening to you talk beforehand, it sounded almost too good to be true, particularly to a somewhat cynical lawyer. So how does this work for you? How do you effectively track?
Well, the technology part has really been worked out, as the panelist has, shared the experience. There's lots of copyright materials, and now more and more are moving through the digital platforms, online, mobile, and the syndication becomes just more complicated. There's lots of user syndicated way, and I think Vince said, there's lots of actually money left on the table by the rights holders. It's because there's no effective technology platform to allow them to collect it. You don't even know how's your content being, shared online. And we've been working with major studios and rights holders in the past, and every time we do is basically by fingerprint their content, putting out database, and we track and come back, show the results to them, almost every single time we surprise them, say, wow, I thought our content got stolen, but didn't realize at that scale. And we can pinpoint down to which site, which episode, which section they got stolen, how many views. And how did we do that is all boils down to our core technology called Video DNA, VDNA. Essentially, for the digital content, video, audio, image, you can go analyze, and this is mathematical things, I'm not going to explain all the details here, that you will be able to build a features and then put into a very compact and digital stream. So that stream is not a compression, it's mainly the feature identification stream. Once we have that, then we keep in a database. But then the challenge comes from engineering is that if you have millions of those, how can you quickly look up, and so we've overcome those technology difficulties over the last few years, and now the whole system is in working. So from the content owner side, we got major studios, Christine, Turner is our customer, we're working with them, and on the record label side as well, and we like to work with Vince, Getty Image, we haven't. And on the distribution side, our technology has been deployed on Youku, Tudou, the largest UGC sites in China, the streaming site Justin TV, Ustream in US, and just the list goes on. And we're talking to a few more, significant sites. So we can identify the content basically across the digital distribution, line. We can identify from the server side, by basically do a pre-uploading filter or some other ways. We can identify on the transmission side if collaborating with ISP, and we can identify on the device side. So by embedding the technology on a iPhone or Android phone, and it's almost like the video Shazam or image Shazam. You can point something and you can identify right away. Once you identified, then it's really up to the rights holders to decide how to monetize it. Some of them in the past may be trying to shut it down, but you don't want to really kill your consumers, right? Because you want to actually get more eyeballs is not a bad thing. The key is you want to get paid and shared, because most of the content out there today online are generating ad revenues. As we talked to Julie, before the session, people may even take your MTV content and strip away the ads, but where do they make money? They insert their own ads, and you don't, don't give a share. So our platform we called, a media orchestrator, is going out to help work with content owners closely to help them basically to protect the content and also track the usage online on mobile platforms and allow them to make the decisions how to monetize it. So if you have a way to say, I'm not ready to put on this window, this region, you can shut it down. And if you are ready to, just share by redirecting back to your sites, to Vivo sites or something, increase your own, ad sales, that's okay. We can do the redirection. Or if you want to just, insert ads and share ad revenue, that's fine. But the key, I think, come down is that because the library and the contents continue increasing, so relying on manual and in the past the legal team, of managing this contract is becoming difficult. Christine and the legal team can do a wonderful job to negotiate deal with Comcast. That's fine. There's only one Comcast in the in the world, but now what if there's lots of these sites online right now? They all want to have some way of getting the rights, and this is where, Vince is getting the business on the B2B. So this is where we enable a automated system to work with content owners and distributions.
Well, I was going to say, don't you need the participation at the other end as well? It's not just the content owners. You need the participation of the distribution platforms.
Yes, definitely. But that conversation and conversion actually came to a much easier than people expected, because early on there was a debate. I think that by now is largely gone. Is from the studio side. Legal. I'm sure Christine is very familiar with it. Oh, I don't want to deal with these guys. They are pirates. They're stealing our content. Why should I do business with them? They should just shut down everything now, and then I will talk to them. And that kind of thought, I think is now by and large passed, because yes, if you shut down 100% of the piracy, maybe the site is gone, but another site is going to come up. You know, it's no longer called Youku or maybe some different names. So the key is that I think why this Getty Images is finding success is that to convert them into your legitimate customer. So when we have evidence, and this we've tried in many these scenarios, say, go to the sites, hey, look, you know, they used to say, I have no idea, you know, whose content is, who owns the rights. I mean, they've got some legitimate rights. And this was a recent real case. We're dealing with the sites, I don't want to use the real name, in China. And we're working with a Japanese, you know, animation content owners. We say, hey, you know, we find the content, where's your license? They say, I paid for it. And they show up a contract. They acquire the content from someone else. And so we kind of went, you know, follow the chain, say, who did you buy from? And all end up with a content supplier based in Taiwan somewhere. And we had original contract, which is in Japanese, and with a seal signed. And we brought that back to the, you know, content owner. They say, oh, that's wrong. That's not us. That person, you know, first of all, you know, because the content rights, there was a company and there was an animation division. The animation division deals with the distribution, not the corporate. So that by itself is wrong. So we find out essentially it was a wrong, you know, a fake contract, went through all these chains. But the sites, they say, how did I know? You know, so what I'm trying to point out is that with today's explosive, you know, growth of digital distribution and the syndication partners, the business opportunity grows, but also the complexity grows. So you really need an automated system to capture the rights, who owns that, and also gives them an easy way to license it. This is where I think where Getty Images find it, you know, success. If that requires, if I want to buy something, you know, maybe $1,000 deal, and I have to go to deal with the lawyers with a 100 pages, you know, agreement, that business won't scale. So you need to give them a automated system, maybe one click, they pay $100, $500, and things are done. So that's where I think we are coming to help the content owners and distributions. And many of the distributors, you know, they are eager, willing to participate, but they don't have the hook to the system.
I mean, so how many of, just an example, how many of your content owners elect to pull down versus, license in some respect?
Majority, the premium content is still, you know, I mean, like the new movies coming out. We have a system with the studios. For sure, you know, absolute infringement, shut down right away. But increasingly, I think the content owners, the TV networks and studios, trying to learn the market. They're using our system actually not actively engaging, you know, take down, but say, hey, the marketing department want to know what's happening. Who is watching that? You want to know where's your audience. Get the understanding first and build a model, then decide on the distribution. So we are moving across the spectrum of, you know, protection, shut down some of the content, now to more of observing, analyzing the market, understanding what's going on, and to devise a strategy, and then, you know, to starting monetization. So a few of them are starting experimenting that right now. So can be, you know, honest to say it's not a whole library. Some of them give us, you know, hey, these are 10 titles, let's try how it works. You know, so because I was talking to Albert Chen, you know, who runs ABC's digital media distribution, he said, without knowing how the content is being consumed online today, how can we come up with strategy? It's kind of playing dark. So it's fair to say that I think the industry has crossed that critical, you know, juncture of saying everything, shut it down, now becomes more collaborative to distribution.
But interesting, I mean, the fact that you are working with Tudu and Youku, I mean, has the bridge been crossed at the other end? Are you now seeing sites in China that realize or understand the need to legitimize their businesses?
This is a very good question. You know, we started to engage in Chinese market right before Olympic, 2007, and work with NBC Universal very closely, you know, because they have the rights of Olympic content, and as we all know, internet is no longer clearly, you know, if you are licensing content to a broadcaster, depends how tall is the antenna, that's the coverage, right? So if you're getting content leaked on internet, that's everywhere. So they had a great concern, say, hey, what if the leakage coming from China and gets through internet and gets to US is going to impact their rights. So we work with them very closely and engage with CCTV in China, who's a legitimate licensee. They paid millions of dollars for the rights. And together with, Chinese government and starting to push, say, intellectual property is important for the, strategy of the, country, development. And the last, I would say now, 3 years, 4 years, we find a great success. And very recent, I think U.S. Copyright Office or intellectual property, some office, they published a white paper, and which recognize the progress in China for copyright protection. Because in order to make a legitimate business, you need to have, you need to do the right thing. Now, Youku is a NASDAQ, not NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange listed company. It's a public company, and Tudor trying to go IPO. And their investors are all, legitimate fund managers and private equities. They want to do the right thing. So I think the whole ecosystem coming to a place, say, yes, we got to honor copyright and we got to do the right thing. So I think the environment in China has changed dramatically. And I think to build a legitimate licensing business is good, and which is good news too. I assume there are lots of content owners in the audience today. As you can see, the licensing price is going up in China right now, for the TV shows and online. And some of those are exceeding the license right to television, traditional television. So I think these are all pointing to a very, I think, positive, future.
If anyone wants to add anything at this point, otherwise we've got some time for some questions. Vince, want to say anything? No? Questions for anyone? I guess everyone's hungry. Okay, well, thanks very much, panelists, and enjoy the rest of your conference. Thanks.
For long.